concerns about how transactions work can be addressed correctly on chain. So that's usually the role that we play, is we clarify what the technology can do. And usually once we clarify that, they become more comfortable with moving ahead and also pushing them towards each other to collaborate on these things.
Every other week, there's a new meme coin promising a 1,000x return, influencers shilling whatever token's trending, and retail investors chasing green candles. But beneath all that chaos, a quiet revolution has been happening. And it's not about hype. It's about utility. This is where XRP, XLM, XDC, and HBAR come in, 4 projects that are not here to entertain, but to rebuild the financial system itself. These aren't meme coins. They're infrastructure coins. And in the coming financial reset, they're positioned to sit at the very center of global money movement. Let's break that down. The 2021 bull run was all about speculation, NFTs, meme coins, and hype cycles. People got rich quick, and just as quickly, most lost it all. But what's happening now is completely different. Governments, central banks, and global institutions are quietly retooling how money moves across the world. They're not looking for volatility. They're looking for efficiency, security, and instant settlement. And that's exactly what XRP, XLM, XDC, and HBAR were built for. These aren't just coins. They're protocols designed to solve trillion-dollar problems. Cross-border payments that take days, fixed. Settlement fees that cost billions annually, eliminated. Fragmented financial systems that don't talk to each other, connected. That's the future we're heading into. A world where digital assets aren't just investments. They're the plumbing of global finance, the great reset of value transfer. Here's the reality. For over 50 years, the world has relied on swift and outdated banking rails to move money internationally. A transaction from Nigeria to the US? 3 days. Sending funds from Europe to Asia? Multiple intermediaries, high fees, and endless verification. But now, a technological overhaul is underway, and these 4 cryptos are leading the charge. Ripple, XRP, is attacking the heart of SWIFT system, creating instant cross-border settlements for banks and financial institutions. Stellar, XLM, focuses on the retail and humanitarian side, connecting people, remittances, and small transactions across borders. XDC Network is revolutionizing trade finance, bringing multi-trillion-dollar industries like supply chain and invoice financing onto blockchain rails. Hedera Hashgraph, HBAR, is building the digital infrastructure for enterprise and government-grade networks, securing tokenized assets and digital IDs at scale. Put them together, and you're looking at the backbone of a new tokenized global economy. The old world ran on oil and paper money. The new world will run on data and digital assets, and these 4 coins are at the center of that equation. Here's what most people miss. When you zoom out, you realize that the real wealth in crypto isn't created by hype. It's created when institutional systems adopt blockchain technology. Look at what's happening right now. Ripple is working with over 300 financial institutions, including global payment giants like Santander, Tranglo, and SBI. Stellar has partnered with MoneyGram, Circle, and even the Ukrainian government for their digital currency pilot. XDC is integrated with TradeFinix and recognized by the World Trade Organization for tokenized trade instruments. HBAR is part of the Governing Council, which includes Google, IBM, Boeing, LG, Standard Bank, and the London School of Economics. When you see corporations of that magnitude building on these networks, you know something deeper is happening. This isn't about quick flips or market hype anymore. It's about real adoption, the kind that creates generational wealth. To understand why these projects matter, you have to see them as infrastructure, not investments. Think about it like this. XRP is the bridge connecting global banks and liquidity corridors. XLM is the connector linking individuals, payment providers, and humanitarian systems. XDC is the foundation anchoring trade, finance, and documentation on blockchain rails. HBAR is the trust layer powering enterprise-grade networks and tokenization platforms. Together, they don't compete, they complete each other. And here's the kicker. All 4 are ISO 20022 compliant assets, which means they can integrate directly into the new messaging standard that's replacing SWIFT globally. That's not a coincidence. It's a blueprint. The financial world is shifting to a single, unified data language, one that can handle digital currencies, smart contracts, and instant settlements seamlessly. When that system goes fully live, many expect between 2025 and 2026, these four assets will already be plugged in and ready to move value across borders instantly. Every financial revolution has winners and losers. In the 1990s, it was the internet, and the people who invested early in infrastructure companies like Amazon or Cisco made fortunes. Today, we're witnessing the Internet of Value, and XRP, XLM, XDC, and HBAR are the infrastructure companies of this new era. Most retail investors are still looking at price charts, waiting for Bitcoin halving or speculating on new tokens. Meanwhile, the real wealth is moving under the surface, into the coins building the digital rails that every government and bank will soon depend on. This is where the next trillion-dollar wave will come from. Not hype, infrastructure. When cross-border payments, digital IDs, trade finance, and government CBDCs all rely on a handful of interoperable networks, those networks will become the financial lifeblood of the global economy. That's the moment these assets will separate from the rest of the market. They won't just be coins, they'll be utilities embedded in the core of global finance. People often say, "We've heard this before. Blockchain will change everything." Yes, we have. But now the difference is institutional adoption and regulation. We're not talking about startups experimenting in the shadows anymore. We're talking about governments, banks, and billion-dollar corporations publicly aligning with these projects, building real-world applications on their networks. That's why this bull run won't be like the others. It won't be driven by speculation. It'll be driven by integration. When utility takes over hype, the assets with real-world use cases will explode, and those without it will fade away. So if you've been holding XRP, XOM, XDC, or HBAR, understand this. You're not just holding coins. You're holding keys to the infrastructure of a new financial system that's already being built, one layer at a time. This isn't financial advice. It's financial awareness. Because the ones who recognize the shift early don't chase wealth, they position for it. In every financial revolution, a handful of technologies quietly rise before the rest of the world catches on. Right now, those technologies are XRP, XLM, XDC, and HBAR, four digital assets that aren't fighting for attention. They're building the foundation for the next monetary era. Each of these projects solves a different problem, but together, they form the complete infrastructure stack for global finance. Let's break down how. If you had to name one crypto project that has spent the last decade preparing for the institutional era, it's XRP. While most coins focused on speculation, Ripple, the company behind XRP, built its mission around solving the trillion-dollar inefficiency in cross-border payments. Think about this. Every single day, trillions of dollars move between countries using outdated systems like SWIFT, systems that are slow, expensive, and prone to errors. It can take 3 to 5 business days for a single international transaction to clear. RippleNet and on-demand liquidity (ODL) fixed that. Instead of using correspondent banks and pre-funded accounts, ODL uses XRP as a bridge currency, converting funds instantly from one currency to another. So when a bank in Japan sends money to Mexico, it can be converted from yen XRP pesos, all within seconds at a fraction of the cost. This isn't a theoretical idea. ODL is already live in corridors across Asia, Europe, and Latin America. Major institutions like Santander, Tranglo, SBI Remit, and Novati are all connected. What's happening behind the scenes is revolutionary. XRP is becoming the neutral bridge asset for global money movement. And as Ripple expands partnerships with central banks and liquidity providers, XRP's role becomes more essential. In a world where CBDCs and fiat currencies need a universal connector, XRP is the most battle-tested solution available. If XRP builds the bridge for banks, Stellar XLM builds the highway for the people. While Ripple's focus is institutional, Stellar targets the individual and retail level, connecting users, remittance companies, NGOs, and fintechs across borders. Created by Jed McCaleb, a Ripple co-founder, Stellar shares similar DNA but a different mission: financial inclusion. Over 1 billion people globally still lack access to traditional banking systems. Stellar aims to fix that by enabling fast, cheap, borderless payments, even for someone with just a smartphone. And it's not just talk. Stellar has partnered with MoneyGram, allowing users to convert cash to crypto and back instantly in over 200 countries. It's also working with the Ukrainian government on developing their digital hryvnia, a CBDC pilot running on Stellar's blockchain. Here's what makes XLM so powerful. It can handle thousands of transactions per second, settle in 2 to 5 seconds, and costs a fraction of a cent per transaction. For remittances, micropayments, and cross-border aid, that's a game changer. But Stellar's vision goes deeper. It's building an open network of anchors, trusted gateways, that connect traditional financial institutions to the blockchain world. That means banks, mobile money operators, and payment companies can all interoperate seamlessly, using XLM as the medium of exchange. So while Ripple transforms the global banking backend, Stellar upgrades the global payment front end, together forming the dual engine of real-world crypto adoption. Now, let's talk about the XDC network, the quiet powerhouse that most retail investors are still sleeping on. While XRP and XLM are focused on payments, XDC is revolutionizing something just as critical: trade finance, a multi-trillion-dollar industry that still runs on paper, spreadsheets, and endless intermediaries. Every global shipment, supply chain invoice, or export credit involves layers of verification, document exchanges, and banking approvals. The slow, expensive, and extremely inefficient. That's where XDC network comes in. Built on a hybrid blockchain architecture, part public, part private, XDC allows businesses and banks to tokenize trade documents, turning paper-based assets into digital, verifiable, and tradable tokens. Imagine a shipping invoice being instantly verifiable across borders, or a letter of credit being executed automatically through smart contracts. That's what XDC enables. Its ecosystem includes TradeFinex, which is already being recognized by the World Trade Organization, WTO, and the International Trade and Forfeiting Association, ITFA. These are not small players. These are the global bodies that define how international trade operates. And the beauty of it? XDC's network can integrate directly with existing financial institutions, thanks to ISO 20022 compliance, the same messaging standard used by banks and payment systems worldwide. When the world's trade finance markets, valued at over $19 trillion, begin to digitize, XDC's rails will be right at the center of it. This isn't a maybe someday project. It's already in motion. Finally, we have Hedera Hashgraph, HBAR, a project that doesn't even call itself a blockchain, but a hashgraph network. And for good reason, it's not your typical crypto platform. It's faster, more secure, and energy efficient at an enterprise scale. What sets HBR apart is its governing council, a lineup that reads like the Fortune 500. Google, IBM, LG, Boeing, Standard Bank, Ubisoft, Dell, and the London School of Economics all running and securing the network. These aren't token partnerships. These companies literally operate the consensus nodes that keep the network live and secure. BAR's use cases go beyond finance. It's powering tokenized assets, supply chain tracking, carbon credit systems, decentralized identity, DID, and even micropayments. It's designed to be the trust layer for digital economies, a neutral infrastructure where enterprises and governments can build without worrying about volatility or scalability issues. And it's fast, like 10,000 transactions per second fast, with finality in seconds, near zero fees, and governance from global institutions. HBAR is the enterprise-grade infrastructure crypto has been missing. When institutions and governments begin rolling out large-scale tokenization platforms, representing stocks, real estate, commodities, or digital IDs, they'll need networks like Hedera. HBAR isn't designed to compete with speculative crypto. It's designed to power the next version of the internet, one where every transaction, asset, and identity can exist on-chain, securely and efficiently. Individually, they're powerful. Together, they form the 4 pillars of the new financial internet, a digital economy that's fast, connected, and interoperable. That's why holding these assets isn't about gambling. It's about owning a piece of the infrastructure that will define the future of value transfer. The crypto market is entering a phase that most investors aren't emotionally or strategically ready for. The noise, the manipulation, the endless FUD. All of it is designed to make you lose focus before the rail run begins. But beneath all that noise, for coins, XRP, XLM, XDC, and HBAR are setting up for what could be one of the most transformative wealth transfers in digital asset history. Let's break down how and why these assets could make you rich, if you understand their role in the coming global shift. When we talk about the future of global finance, XRP isn't just another coin. It's the bridge, the link between traditional finance and the digital era. Ripple's XRP ledger was designed for one purpose: instant cross-border payments with near-zero fees. As banks, governments, and fintechs experiment with central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, they need a neutral settlement asset that can move between systems. XRP fits that role perfectly. It's already integrated into RippleNet, which connects hundreds of financial institutions globally. Think about this. Once the regulatory clarity in the US fully settles, and banks are officially allowed to use XRP for on-demand liquidity, trillions in daily transactions could move through its rails, and every transaction burns a tiny fraction of XRP, reducing total supply over time. So when you see price suppression, lawsuits, and coordinated skepticism, understand it's all part of a setup. XRP is not just fighting for retail hype. It's positioning itself as the backbone of the new global payments infrastructure. While XRP targets institutions, Stellar XLM focuses on people, especially the unbanked. Its mission aligns closely with global goals like the UN's Financial Inclusion Initiative. The Stellar Development Foundation has already partnered with MoneyGram, Circle, USDC, and even the Ukrainian government for digital currency pilots. Imagine a future where migrant workers can send remittances home instantly without paying 10 to 20% in fees. That's the power of Stellar. But it's not just about humanitarian work, it's about scaling financial access in a way that's sustainable and scalable. As stablecoins and tokenized assets become mainstream, Stellar's network will be the go-to platform for low-cost transactions and smart contracts in developing economies. This technology is fast, its mission is clear, and its adoption curve is rising. That's why long-term holders of XLM aren't just betting on profit, they're betting on the future of global inclusion. Now, this is where things get interesting. XDC network might not be as hyped as XRP or XLM, but its utility is arguably just as critical. XDC focuses on global trade finance, a $20 trillion industry that remains bogged down by paper-based systems and outdated processes. The XDC blockchain digitizes trade documents and automates settlements, working alongside initiatives like the Trade Finance Distribution Initiative, TFDI, and global standards like ISO 20022. Its hybrid blockchain architecture gives enterprises privacy, compliance, and speed, the three pillars traditional institutions demand. In short, XDC is solving the real-world problem of liquidity bottlenecks in global trade. And the institutions behind these networks. They're not small players, think banks, supply chains, and international trade platforms. The moment the market recognizes the full potential of XDC's role in connecting blockchain with real-world assets, RWAs, it won't just rise, it'll reprice. And then there's Hedera, HBAR, the enterprise-grade DLT quietly building the Internet of Value. Unlike traditional blockchains, Hedera uses a hash graph consensus that's fast, fair, and energy efficient. It's governed by some of the biggest corporations in the world: Google, IBM, Boeing, LG, and Standard Bank, among others. HBAR isn't chasing retail hype, it's building infrastructure for governments, payment networks, and enterprises. From carbon credit tracking to tokenized assets and CBDC pilots, Hedera is embedding itself into systems that will outlast market cycles. And here's the kicker. The projects being built on HBAR aren't speculative. They're funded by billion-dollar enterprises. When the market wakes up to the fact that Hedera is the quiet backbone of multiple real-world blockchain implementations, we'll likely see an institutional wave similar to what we saw with Ethereum back in 2017. Conclusion: the coming shift and call to action. Here's the truth: 99% of investors are distracted by short-term price moves. They'll panic sell at 40 cents and FOMO back in at $4. But the 1% who understand the utility behind XRP, XLM, XDC, and HBAR, They're the ones positioning themselves for generational wealth. Each of these assets represents a pillar of the coming tokenized economy. XRP, liquidity and settlement. XLM, inclusion and remittances. XDC, trade and global supply chains. HBAR, enterprise and infrastructure. If these networks achieve even a fraction of their intended global use cases, the valuation shifts will be monumental. Now is the time to research, diversify, and stay patient. Because when the world's financial plumbing goes digital, these four assets won't just be part of the conversation. They'll be the conversation. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit the like button, drop a comment with which of these coins you're holding, and don't forget to subscribe for the next deep dive into how real utility is creating real wealth in crypto. The future isn't coming, it's already being built, one ledger at a time.